Hey, good morning everyone. I'm here for day 3 of testing of Rover 1. Made some changes since our last testing, and hopefully I'll see the benefits of those changes today. I put new thruster props on it. As you can see, I went to just a 2-blade boat prop. Some early testing I did at home. I noticed some difference in the thrust of that, so hopefully that'll lessen the resistance on those props in the water, and I can get a little more power out of it. I'm going to try to get it neutrally buoyant today. Got it close last time, but never really fully achieved neutral buoyancy last time. And put a new tether on it. It's a shorter 120-foot tether. What I did was I took the power cable and stripped off the sheathing, and I took 2 twisted pairs of wire that I had, and run those 2 twisted pairs along with the 2 power cables, or 2 power wires through a 1/4-inch polypropylene hollow core rope. So that won't make any difference for today, but except for that the shorter tether might get a little more amperage to the ROV, so there won't be as much voltage drop. So hopefully that will make a difference. Got it all sealed up. Tested that the motors are working fine. So I'm gonna get it wet and start getting it neutrally buoyant. As you can see, I got it in the tank. It's pretty close to being neutrally buoyant, but there's still a few issues that I see that I'm having. And one of the first ones is, even though I drilled some holes into the frame, okay, I got the ROV out of the water, out of the tank. Opened her up, bone dry, thankfully. So that is very good news there. Got a few more holes drilled into the frame, so hopefully that'll help with those air pockets that are building up in there, and hopefully it'll stay more neutrally buoyant instead of going positive to negative with those air pockets coming in and out of the frame. So hopefully that'll take care of that. Right now I'm going to reprogram the ESCs, and really it's really easy with the ESCs that I'm using in here. I'm using the Castle Sidewinder 3 ESCs with the Castle Link program that I can just connect it up to my computer and reprogram the ESCs fairly easily. And to show you, this is the little Castle Link device here. It just hooks into the 3-pin connector of the ESC, and then when I'm done I just unplug that and plug it back into my Raspberry Pi board that I created here. These are the ESC pins there for the ROV. So I've got the Castle Link hooked up. So right now I've got, it might be a little bit difficult to tell, but right now it's set to 70% max forward power. I know it's really hard to see on the screen, but it's set to 70% max forward power. I'm going to go ahead and increase that up to 100%. Right now max reverse power is set to 60. I'm going to increase that to 80. And I'm going to change the punch control as well. What the punch control does is it limits the acceleration when you hit the throttle, so it just doesn't jump. Because this is in water with the props, I really don't think I need the punch control, so I'm going to I'm going to disable that punch control. And then that's it. All I have to do is just click on update, and it just sends that information to the ESC, and bam, it's done. So what I'll do is I'm going to save these settings. And that way I can just, when I connect up each ESC, I just load that setting and hit update, and then all 4 ESCs will be done. So I'm going to do that, and then get back with you shortly. Okay, I got the rover back in the water. What I did was I drilled some more holes in the frame, and I reprogrammed the ESCs. When I put it back in, I noticed it did make a difference. There doesn't seem to be as many air pockets in the frame now, which makes it a little bit better. Didn't notice much difference in the power, the thrust power, after making the ESC changes, but it does surface, and it does dive, which is good, and it seems like it has okay forward speed. It's not going to set any water speed records by any means, but you know, for the bulk of the frame that it is, and you know, as heavy and as resistant as it is in the water, it's not very hydrodynamic by any means. Yeah, I think it's okay. You know, I'm happy with the results so far. You know, I wish it had a little bit more power, but you know, for what it is, I think it's doing good. So I can probably squeeze a little bit more power out of it. What I'm going to do next is there's some values in the program that limit the speed as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in the program and change a few of those values to see if that makes a difference. The good thing about that is I can do it over the network. I don't even have to pull it out of the water to do that. So I'm going to make those programming changes and see how it goes. But I'm real happy with the testing so far today. You know, I think it's going to be a good little ROV for its first attempt. And if it gets, you know, if I get it out in the lake or a pond or something, and I don't think that it's performing well, what I can always do is build a smaller, lighter frame for it, and this whole box will just lift off of here with the thrusters, and I can put that on a smaller frame. That's nothing that's too big of a challenge to overcome. So you know, I'm real happy so far. So I'm going to make those programming changes and see if that makes a difference. So it appears I hit my first real snag in the project. I put it back in the water, was getting it neutrally buoyant, did some testing, and made the programming changes that I was going to make. And now it seems I've lost network communication to the ROV. So I got to pull it out of the water. I don't see any Ethernet lights blinking on my control box or on the ROV itself. So it seems like I lost network communication somewhere. So I'm going to get to troubleshooting that and see what the problem is and go from there. Okay, well, I found the culprit right away. When I looked in the box, I noticed that two of the ESC lights were not blinking, which means one of the buck converters has either gone bad or has lost its power connection or something. So I'm going to get this top one pulled off. It's the one underneath down in here. And that runs the Ethernet switch that supplies the network connection. So it either fried or lost its power connection, loose power connection or something. So I'm going to get that top one pulled off and see what happened. I happen to have a spare one with me if it did go bad, so I may end up replacing that, but we'll see what it is. Okay, I'm in the middle of troubleshooting the problem I was having here, and at first thought, I thought it was the buck converter that didn't have any power to it or any display was the culprit of the problem. But it appears that this one is actually the problem. As I was taking it apart, the heatsink fell off the one chip here, the voltage regulator, and a big chunk of the chip actually came off with the heatsink. And there's a little black scorch mark on the side of the 7-segment display there. So it appears that it was actually this chip that blew. And as I put my meter on it, I can see that it has no output voltage to it. Yeah, it's totally dead on the output. So it's getting the 23 volts in or 24 volts in, but there's no output. So I guess the lesson learned here was increasing the power may not have been a good thing. So I'm going to back off the power as I rework everything here. But I do have a spare buck converter with me, so I'll get it all repaired up and back in the water here in a few minutes. And then go in and reprogram the ESCs to back off the power a little bit. And then what I may end up doing is just sourcing some 10 amp buck converters, see if I can squeeze them in here. And that might be a little bit better solution, because I don't want that thing blowing when it's 50, 60, 100 feet down and have to lug it up. So, but yeah, it looks like that one chip that blew caused the problem, and it makes sense to me now, because the output from this does feed the power of that. This doesn't draw very much. It just powers the Raspberry Pi and the Ethernet switch. So it really doesn't power that much, but I guess adding the additional power in to the motors put this one over its peak amps, and it just kind of blew it. So lesson learned. Not a big deal. So we'll get it repaired up and get it back in the water here in a few minutes. Okay, got everything connected back up here. Looks like that was definitely the problem. My motors aren't beeping at me anymore, so that way I know they're getting communication from the Raspberry Pi on the control box on the surface. So looks like yeah, definitely the problem. Probably a little bit under underpowered buck converters, or need to go to a little bit bigger buck converter. These are 5 amp. Probably need to go to a 10 amp buck converter, but wasn't too too major of a problem. So we got it fixed. I'm going to back off the power on the ESCs, and hopefully we won't blow another one here today, and get it back in the water and get some more testing done. So we'll see how it goes. Not a major setback, but that's why we do this testing, I guess. So we'll get it wrapped up here and back in the water in a few minutes. Okay, I got her back in the water. I got it in once, had to pull it back out because I realized on the one buck converter that I did replace, I forgot to set the current on it because when I put it back in the water, it just didn't want to move at all. So I increased the current limit on the buck converter, and that seems to have solved the problem. So I think it's about as good as it's going to get for right now. So it's operating pretty good. I got it pretty well neutrally buoyant, a little bit positive buoyant, and I think that's the way I kind of want it. So you know, it's like I said before, it's not going to set any speed records. This is reverse. But it's got good forward speed. I'm happy with that. And it does dive fairly well, so I'm happy with that. So you know, I think it's been a good day of testing. You know, if I replace those buck converters with 10 amp buck converters, I might get a little more power out of it. But you know, I don't think it's overly bad right now. The only thing I don't know about is obviously when you get a full tether out behind it, you know, how well it's going to do. But it's probably going to take some tether management to, you know, to pull it in manually and let it out, but I would expect that anyway, I guess. So you know, overall, I'm real happy with the testing today. No leaks. Didn't see any leaks into the control box here. Didn't see any water in the camera or the light. The one thing I did notice that does degrade the performance a little bit is when the light is on. It must draw just enough current to really slow it down a little bit. So I might work on a new light solution, whether it be just a battery powered light rather than running the light off the power of the ROV itself, or kind of a hybrid approach where the ROV keeps the battery charged for the light. I don't know. I'm going to think about that, but you know, that's not a big deal. So, and I'm happy with the way this tether is looking in the water with the floating rope. It seems to be better than having the two wires that I had before zip tied together. So it's not neutrally buoyant, but it's a little bit lighter in the water, I think, and that should help things out. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. Can't wait to get it out in the lake or someplace. I think the next step here is to try to find a pool to do some further testing in. I can't dive real deep right here, you know, obviously. So check out the full maneuverability of it. In a pool, I noticed there is some steering problems, and I think that's just the thrusters in back aren't aligned exactly right. I need to get them pointed a little bit more straight. I think it might be a little bit of the problem. Yeah, real good day. I'm real happy with the way it's going. So I'm going to do a little bit more testing here, and then pull it out of the water, and then do a recap. So give you a full overview of the whole system. So. Okay, well, setback 2 of the day. It went dead stick in the water on me again. So when I pulled it out and opened up the box, a bunch of smoke came billowing out. So I am assuming that I blew the voltage buck converter again. Looks like I will look into it a little bit more and see what's happening. And but I don't have another spare, so it looks like I'm done for the day. But I'll do a little troubleshooting and kind of do a recap of the day. Okay, yeah, I was definitely right. Yeah, I just blew another buck converter. So as you can see here, that chip pretty much exploded. So definitely not. Definitely need more power, or a buck converter that's designed for a little bit more power. So I am done for the day. But overall, really good day of testing. I'm really happy with the performance that I was seeing when it was working. So, and maybe if I increase the size of those buck converters, it will really make a difference. So got it neutrally buoyant, or pretty close. Happy with that. I'm going to try to get it in a pool to see how the maneuverability is once I get it in a pool. So happy with that. Happy with my little control center for the ROV. I'm going to bring you over here and give you a little bit of rundown of what's going on over here. This is my iPad for looking at the video of the ROV. Got my router, my other Raspberry Pi that sends all the data to the ROV. My Xbox 360 controller is what I control it with. This is a 24 volt 15 amp power supply that I've been running off of today. I'm real happy with the performance of that. It's an LED power supply, but it's worked really well for this ROV. So my buck converter for up here. So this is pretty much command and control right here. So that's set up real nice. I really like that. So real happy with the tether today. And I was surprised. I made it a detachable tether, which means I got these connectors here. One for power and one for the Ethernet connection. And I was surprised that even the submerged Ethernet connection still performed as expected today. So really good. So really good day of testing. So next step is to get those buck converters replaced and see if I can find a pool somewhere. If not, maybe I'll just go throw it in the lake and see how it does. I don't know. But obviously the best next step would be to get it in a pool and see how it goes. So thanks everyone for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. Thanks.